Hello and welcome back to another vlog. Here we are, ready to talk about the TGS Podcast. All about it. Firstly, I just want to say thank you to everyone that watched it, both live and on the Game Station channel. To everyone that liked the video on the Game Station channel, that shared the stream while it was happening. All of it. We're going to talk about the comments that were left on the video and what people were saying in the stream chat in just a little bit. I made like a mini list here on my screen of things that I wanted to just cover or touch on in this vlog, and there are some really interesting points that I want to bring up. But before we get into that, I wanted to say that I just appreciate the lot of it. I've been making YouTube videos for close to 3 years now. I think in May it's going to be my 3-year anniversary, and the podcast, the TGS Podcast, the Game Station Podcast, was probably the highest point for me in all that time. Not just because I had so many people watching me on a stream with 3 amazingly cool people that are, I have to just put this out here, much more famous than me and much bigger deals than me. Not just because of that, but because of how much fun I had just being on the stream, seeing what people were saying about it, having the opportunity to talk about things, to share my views on the different topics that came up. All of it was just so cool. Absolutely amazing. It's something that I never thought I'd be able to do, or something I never thought I'd have the opportunity to do. So I'm super grateful that I was able to go on there, and I hope that one day maybe I'll be able to be back on there, and perhaps if that happens, we'll have less technical issues, because there were some technical things that kind of got in the way of what was going on. But it seems like because the viewers of the podcast were such amazing people, they sort of just shrugged it off. They were like, his screen is freezing, whatever, we'll make the best of it, and either make fun of the faces that he gets frozen in, because those faces were pretty funny, okay? I got like 1,000 people tweeting different poses that I got stuck in at me, and some of them, man, some of them were pretty intense, but some were just hilarious. And you guys just made the best of it. I mean, that on any other podcast would have been unacceptable. They would have like stopped it and said, no, it's unacceptable. This guest has a rubbish internet connection. His mic sounds bad, and we just don't want him on here anymore. And then the viewers would have been like, yes, get him off here, get him off here. And they would have shooed me off, and that would have been that. But it didn't happen on the TGS podcast. No. We rolled with it. And it was amazing. Even the people that watched the video afterwards on the Game Station's channel, they left comments about it. They said, hey, you know, although the screen was freezing, it was actually kind of fun. And it wasn't actually just me. The technical issues were sort of for everyone, and they were kind of there all the way through. I think a lot of the issues came from the fact that Total Biscuit accidentally streamed in 60 FPS, and he was like, well, you know, we're doing it now, let's just stick with it. And maybe, just maybe, that made it all take a little bit more bandwidth from my side. I don't know. I don't know if that's a fact. I'm not very good at streaming things. I'm not good at knowing what's wrong with issues like this. But I can tell you right now that my webcam wasn't freezing at all for the people in the Skype call. So the only person, except for Total Biscuit, so Jesse Cox and Dodger, they both saw me moving the whole time. So it was a little bit different for us. We never froze for each other, only for Total Biscuit. Strange. I know. And then there were some like black parts in the video, and it was flickering green at some point. I don't know, but you know, it is an incredibly long podcast. You don't need to stare at it all the time. If you do watch it, you can just listen to it. And I suppose just flick back and Alt tab it open every now and then to see in what position my face is or was frozen in. That's fun too. That was really fun. So that said, I just wanted to say that I'm extremely grateful to everyone that like made it possible for me to be there. I already sent mails out to Total Biscuit, Dodger, Jesse Cox, and my 2 contacts at the Game Station to say thank you, to tell them that I really appreciate it, and to tell them that I had the best time of my life on the podcast with those 3. because I did. I sent the mail the day after the podcast. I hope they saw it. I told them don't reply. I told them I know you're busy, but here it is. Thank you. Let's move on to the comments because there were some really, really good comments. I'm just gonna like bam, 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 a few of them on the screen while I'm talking about them so you guys can get a bit of an idea of what it is that I've been laughing at for the last couple of like days since it's been up on the Game Station channel. I had so much fun. Okay, I read through every single comment. I know that sounds crazy, but I did it. I sat here like scrolling while I was like kind of falling asleep, and I was like every now and then and it was so much fun. So much fun seeing what people said. There was so little negativity going on as well. I mean, the like-dislike ratio of the video alone is, from what I could have told, the best on any TGS podcast ever, and that just makes me happy. And then some people said, well, this is by far the happiest podcast I've ever seen, and I'm glad that that happened to be the one that I was in. I'm so glad of that. If anything, I want people to remember that podcast as the happy podcast. That would be so cool if you guys could just do that. The happy TGS podcast. But the comments, you guys were so funny and fun and just genuinely nice. Firstly, I have to get this out of the way. There were so many different comments about the way I look, and none of them bad. It's just I always find these interesting because since I started on YouTube, I always had people telling me, hey, you look like this guy, hey, you sound like this guy, hey, you kind of look like this guy's brother, are you? And I made a little list of the names here. Firstly, they said, hey, he looks like Bill Nye, the science guy. I had to Google that to know who it was, and I suppose. Then someone said, he looks exactly like James Franco. Then someone else said, hey, what is young Richard Gere doing here? That's amazing. That is so spot on. Josh Groban, please don't Google that because he looks almost exactly like me. Then there are people saying that I sound like Stewie from Family Guy, which is something I want to talk about. Let's just take a step back from the podcast quickly. This is something that it's been a theme since I started on YouTube. People not being sure about my accent and then just jumping straight to something. So here, let me explain it. When I first started out, people were like, hey, you got a super annoying voice, you shouldn't be making videos. That was before I had a proper mic and everything. I was using this headset mic and it was, you know, kind of demotivating and all that because my voice was a little bit more screechy. I wasn't quite as sure of myself in my videos. I just didn't sound as good. So that was the first thing I got. First, it was, hey, you're annoying, get out of here. Then after that, after I made a couple of videos and people realized I wasn't going anywhere, then they were like, well, you sound kind of Indian, dude. Are you from India? And I was like, no, I'm from South Africa. I'm not an Indian, although there are Indian people in South Africa that have accents like that. I don't have an Indian accent. So that was the next one. Annoying Indian. And then it was like, hey, wait. And this was still while I was using the headset mic. You sound almost exactly like Raj from Big Bang Theory. I didn't know who that was at the time, but I went and listened to him, and no, I don't think I sound anything like Raj from Big Bang Theory. But I suppose if you spend most of your life just hearing one accent, and this happens for a lot of people in many countries, they're not as multicultural as, say, South Africa is. If you just hear an American accent the whole time, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult distinguishing between different accents from around the world, and I suppose the differences between them wouldn't be as apparent if you don't have as much experience listening to them as other people do. So I can definitely see how they'd mistake me for Raj from Big Bang Theory. Then I got the new mic, and then they were like, well, now your voice is way too deep. But I was like, well, this is my real voice. This is what I sound like. And they were like, no, that's not what you sound like. Some funny business is happening here. And then I was like, fine, I'll just carry on making videos. You get out of here. And then after that happened, then when I got this new mic, they moved straight on, and I'm saying they because it's just the general commenter that's not a subscriber of mine, just someone that, hey, pops in, leaves a comment, leaves. They moved on to Stewie from Family Guy. And that's by far my favorite one thus far. I mean, I can definitely hear the resemblance there. I don't have the same accent, but I can hear what they're saying. And it's been so much fun hearing all about that. Having it go from super annoying to Indian to Raj to way too deep and then to Stewie. And now to a point where people kind of like the way I sound. Again, that's something I never expected would actually happen. But time has passed and people have just gotten used to it. Or had it pounded into their head or into their subconscious that they need to like Lumin's accent. They just need to. So that is the progression. That's what I've gone through since I started on YouTube. And I saw all of that in the TGS Podcast comments. All of that and more. And then all the different comments about how I look ridiculously photogenic gamer because I keep getting stuck in these silly poses. Some of them not quite as flattering as others, but it was still a lot of fun. Really, it was. And then there were people saying, hey, Dodger is crushing hard on Lumin. No, Dodger was probably the nicest person ever, and it seems like she takes that role. When there's a guest on the podcast that's nervous about being there, because I was nervous. I was super nervous about being on the podcast. It's a big deal. Sitting there with thousands of people watching you, having them listen to every single word you say. I mean, you guys listened to them, to all those words. And somehow the right words came out at the right time and I didn't sound like a complete fool. But it seems like she can sense when people are a little bit nervous and she's taken on that role of being supportive and kind of asking questions and goading them into the conversation. And I'm once again just so grateful that, well, firstly, all three of them were so nice, but Dodger specifically, even in the breaks and stuff, it was like, hey, are you doing okay? Or, hey, you're doing great. Or, wow, it's been so much fun, this and that. She was just really nice about all of it. Okay, so I appreciate it so much. And the whole podcast experience is just something that I will obviously never forget. It helped me out a lot as well, because a lot of new people got to see me and see what I was all about and leave comments saying that I'm nice and that people should subscribe to me. And I also appreciate the fact that you guys did that, because every single time I scroll down those comments and look at the new ones, I see something that makes me smile, genuinely smile, and think to myself, wow, there are some really nice people on YouTube, and this right here, these comments that I'm looking at, they are the reason that I make these videos and that I enjoy making them so much. Because I do, and it's because of you guys, the lot of you. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I actually left my phone exposed here because I was kind of waiting for my mom to phone that I could answer it on air here. She's gonna phone and she's gonna say, hey, your subscribers are going up so fast, and I'm gonna be like, yes, mother dearest. I don't call her mother dearest, call her by her name, but still. She would have called. I actually had a missed call from her, that's why I left it here. I was hoping she'd phone back. It wouldn't be embarrassing because you wouldn't be able to hear her talk at all. You'd just hear me replying to her. But I thought that would have been fun. I could always leave her a quick message and say, hey, call me now, I'm free. But I'm not going to do that. It just wasn't meant to be. But that's going to be it for this video. The long and short of it is, I wanted to say thank you to all of you that watch my videos, to everyone that supported me while I was on the podcast. Because I was reading chat, it was going by so fast, and that was probably also making me lag, because my internet connection, for those that don't know, down here in South Africa, in the smaller towns, you don't get big, fast, mega lines. So where we stay now, I've got a 4 meg line, which is 4 meg download and like a half a meg up. So when I was streaming my webcam footage at Total Biscuit, or at the three of them in the call, I was nearly nearly maxing my line out, and I was on the lowest quality setting on my webcam, and it was stressful. I couldn't have the stream open, so I never saw any of these freezes. I couldn't watch the trailers without making myself lag. It was kind of stressful. That alone was kind of stressful, but you guys were okay with it. You gave me all sorts of supportive comments. You said all sorts of nice things. You tweeted at me with a bunch of great motivational sayings and stuff, and I was so happy about that. But another thing I should probably point out is that, as you can quite clearly see and hear, the quality of my mic was severely reduced by Skype. Skype is a terrible, terrible program. Terrible. If they ever ask me if I want to be sponsored by them, I'll say no. No, Skype. You fix your program before you sponsor me. And that is that. Rather take a sponsorship from Rap Snacks or something. Rap Snacks. So, before I end this off, I guess mentioning Rap Snacks now, I'll just say that other things like the content that we spoke about in the podcast and stuff like that, I was super happy with how it all went down. And some people were like, hey, Total Biscuit was kind of rude to you and stuff. No, he wasn't. He was just trying to avoid a conversation that really shouldn't happen. Well, at least not more than once. Because of a misunderstanding. He thought I was going to bring up all sorts of nasty stuff about Tomb Raider. And I wasn't. I was going to talk about something totally different. That was also kind of nasty, but not the same kind of nasty as the nasty that he thought it was going to be. If that makes sense to you? That's how it went down. In conclusion, TB, Jesse Cox, and Dodger were great. They were super welcoming to me. Me, someone who has a fraction of the viewer or fan or subscriber base. They were super nice to me. I had a good time. You guys seemed to enjoy it. You guys left amazing comments, which I really appreciate, and all that other good stuff. It was nice. It was so good, and in 10 years from now, I'll still be remembering the TGS podcast of February 2013. I had to think for a moment what year it was because I'm bad at stuff like that, but I'll remember that. I'll think back fondly. And now I'm just rambling. So thank you for watching. If you somehow missed the podcast, I'll put it up here somewhere throughout the video, so you'll just be able to click on that and waste 3 hours of your lives watching and listening to 4 people talk about video games and other stuff. Enjoy. So thank you again. Check back here soon for more vlogs and the weekly Q&A that's coming up within the next day or two. Don't even worry about that. Most importantly though, happy Lumin on the TGS podcast. Happy that.